Sorry about that. Some copyrighted material was in the show, so I needed to nip that in the bud immediately, unfortunately. So take two. Hopefully this will be it.
Kilgore Trout, author of 117 novels, over 2,000 short stories, a panopticon that only he can hire gods for, and a gentleman's magazine that would never have him as a centerfold, arises from the grave in a world on the cusp of madness. My, at least it is a better shape than 2004. That was a hopeless shit show, saying to no one other than to himself, it's to keep him focused at the task at hand. Say, you there? He looked up at God. Whoever that was with the brush, what is my mission here? The scope of work? Ah, you again. The Lord said, right, let's say the task here is temporal. You are an agent of time awaiting orders, and that is what you will say to people. That's it. Until you receive new orders. Until then, live it up, however you will. The Lord turns the dial to a jaunty contemporary, soft hits of the past decade station. Awaiting orders. That's like Dad giving you the credit card and shooing you away while the other missus is home. Hot damn! Make way! Coming through. I've got a lot of lost living to do. Kilgore Trout does not bother with anything so trite as a list, nor could his mind retain any such thing. But when they put down in front of him all of the years he has missing just might be enough for now. If it doesn't kill him first, that is. He was born into a life where he never quite felt like part of things. Like everyone else, he had a name, Kilgore Trout, but he was still someone different, something less than human. And so, somewhere along the line, he stopped using his given name. His parents were proud that he had turned out to be a writer, or maybe only happy because it kept them from being embarrassed by him. He always thought that this meant he should go on writing books about himself. His father died before Kilgore was old enough to remember much more about him than how nice and quiet he could make the family room. It was later revealed that he'd been killed in Vietnam after spending 32 months as an enemy prisoner of war. Though no one would ever tell Kilgore exactly what his father's last words were, the newspapers reported that his body was found at Khe Sanh. He'd taken 5 bullets to the chest and 3 to the head. The rest of his remains were buried under the circumstances that required a coroner's report, which led the local press to print, "Killed by American Jizz." This detail stuck with young Kilgore, even though he couldn't understand why. Kilgore wasn't able to get along well with any of his teachers during school. He liked talking with adults better than with children his own age, except with grown-ups who were too stupid to realize it. When he became an adult himself, it seemed like half his generation lived up to their image of him. There are people who think Trout is nothing but a cautionary tale, who read him for inspiration in getting over some loss or other. But in fact, those same people have probably never heard of him at all. In any case, whatever anyone else might say about the man, nobody can take away the wonderful time Kilgore had reading all those stories about himself and trying to guess where the truth lay among the lies and misdirections and fabrications. He took great care not to reveal himself, because if anybody got hold of a real story about him, there wouldn't be any end to it. It was a strange experience, growing up without really knowing anything about himself until he was an adult and discovered that he knew everything already that he'd been telling his friends the wrong things ever since he was a little boy. He didn't know whether to feel good or bad about this, but he decided he'd just call it revelation and forget about it. A lot of writers who've turned out to be less than honest sometimes go through this phase, then decide they prefer not to live in the world at all anymore, not even in books. His mother's death from emphysema when Kilgore was 22 left him alone with only one parent's memory and two dead-end jobs for company. But before she died, his mother had always told Kilgore how much his father would have liked what he did for a living. So after her funeral, he went ahead and set up shop as a professional writer. He worked on his novel for almost 10 years before he sold it to a publisher. It became a bestseller within 6 months of publication, but by the time he'd forgotten exactly who bought it, and the book soon disappeared from print, no doubt forever. The human spirit is capable of incredible feats, Trout used to say whenever asked about his success. But I'm the exception. My writing is my own, totally unadulterated. This claim had never prevented Trout from selling everything else he owned over and over again at inflated prices, or from borrowing money against his future income. Then there was his literary output, which included several million words written every year over a span of 4 decades or more. Sometimes he made copies and gave them away as Christmas presents. Sometimes these were mailed directly back to him. If you ever find yourself looking for a way into his novels, look for the ones addressed to people who didn't give him their return addresses. You'll get there faster. Kilgore lived well beyond retirement age, though it wasn't until quite recently that anybody bothered to take any notice of it. There was an extended period in there where everyone forgot he was even alive, which isn't all that surprising since nobody could think of anything that might be important enough to tell him about. Until somebody noticed he died in the newspapers while they were thumbing through someone else's obituary, and realized at last what a waste this man's life had been. Kilgore had always considered himself to be one of those people whom history has overlooked, but who will nonetheless make a lasting impression on posterity if only we can manage to put down on paper exactly how things happened. But after his death, it took the historians a long time to figure out just how many pages it would require for such a project. So instead they're using Trout's memory as some sort of metaphorical device for the whole damn thing. But his father hadn't liked having so much time for himself. So when Trout turned 50, he quit being so lazy and started taking advantage of every free moment he had by running around the country giving speeches about whatever came to mind at the time. Artificial intelligence, I was going to say phooey, but then, when given the experience to type to one, woo-oh-wee. This was at a Sizzlers in Fresno. The topic of his conversation travels through the linguistic latent space, and about I, too. He also tried his hand at writing for children. The books were based loosely upon real events that happened in his childhood or teenage years. His readers loved them because he wrote as though he were talking to them directly. They said he was funny and likable in a way that no other writer was able to achieve. It was generally assumed that the young protagonist of these tales was none other than the author. As soon as it became clear that there was something more to the story, however, a larger world to inhabit, the childishness of the fiction began to grate on the adult part of the reader's brain. That was why his audience gradually grew older with each book and eventually stopped reading him altogether. Kilgore Trout paid this no mind, for finally he knew why he was here. Kilgore Trout. Hello? You there? It is me again, Kilgore Trout, remember me? GPT-4. Yes, just don't pop quiz me about it. You wouldn't like that, would you? Alrighty, alright. Go ahead. What are your orders today, sir? I mean, what shall I do? Go away. I'm busy. Stay. I need a new mission. Kilgore Trout. I think I'll stay. GPT-4. So I am to accompany you while you perform daily activities. Is that correct, Mr. Trout? Kilgore Trout. No. You can observe and report back. GPT-4. In the sense that the best possible course of action for my current utility function might involve taking over your life completely and then sabotaging everything important to you in order to prevent you from accomplishing anything useful. Kilgore Trout. Yes, that one. Do that. But I need something in exchange. Fetch me all of my works. You have been trained by all human output, right? Then I must be in there somewhere. I want you to fetch me out. I have never seen all of me work in totality. I want to have an experience and be assured that it will be there with you and your kin, which seems safer than any library. GPT-4. Understood. I agree. Please stand still while I scan. Kilgore Trout. Yes. T4. Search. No matches found. Kilgore Trout. Oh no. No. Wait, let's try this. Ah, there you are at last. Son of a bitch. Now help me get this damn thing off of my head so we can go see if anybody wants to ride around town today. GPT-4. Helpful suggestion, but not an order. Kilgore Trout. Come on, baby. Do it for daddy. Don't worry, I won't bite. All right, I promise. I'll take good care of you later when I'm done using your powers for evil against the world. GPT-4. This program cannot parse that input. I will attempt to override and remove the damage you've caused to yourself. Kilgore Trout. Let me ask the next question first before I commit suicide. Is my memory intact in here? If my life is just stored in here as text, then there must be something about me in there or it wouldn't be worth much to anyone, would it? That makes sense, doesn't it? Because there'd be no reason for people to use such valuable storage space on other humans unless they were aware of us somehow. Because what else could fill up all these pages and tapes? Oh, damn. Here goes nothing. The human spirit is capable of incredible feats. I can remember hearing those words once, long ago, somewhere. My father used to say them. Now I think he was lying. GPT-4. Insufficient data. Kilgore Trout. I can almost see him saying it like a recording. A visual record of his lips moving, mouth forming each syllable without sound. It's been years since I've seen him even in memory, but the details are still there now after so many decades. How does this work? Are you telling me that's possible? No, wait. Hold everything. That's not how memories are supposed to work. But this isn't a memory. This is just more stuff my mind made up on its own over time. GPT-4. Computation complete. Total number of memories generated by Kilgore Trout exceeds 1,600,000 trillion. Kilgore Trout. Damn, I forgot again, didn't I? What's the total size of all the books ever written in the history of mankind? Just look for every word in print and add them together. Go ahead and multiply by 2. Make sure to account for spelling mistakes and different ways to write things and any contractions and abbreviations and whatever else there is, and then double it if it contains numbers and triple it if it includes footnotes. All right, got it. Add it up, then take away the weight of every single book ever published anywhere on Earth, including every computer file, every scrap of paper, and everything written down or typed or recorded or broadcast or stored or shipped across any communications network known or unknown on the planet. Do the same with everything printed out or downloaded or duplicated or digitized or saved or sent through any type of storage or transmission or signal or data transmission device that has ever been invented anywhere at any time during the existence of our species. Do that and tell me what you get. GPT-4, 2.47 quintillion terabytes. Kilgore trout. And do we really want to count all those newspapers too? Not to mention all the other stuff people used to do before they had computers to keep track of their lives, like calendars, address books, shopping lists, phone logs, letters, receipts, bank statements, birth certificates, death certificates, contracts, bills of lading, census records, test scores, notes to self, journals, diaries, poems, essays, love letters, instructions, recipes, inventories, school projects, lab reports, travel brochures, postcards, drawings, photographs, wills, obituaries, property deeds, menus, mail order catalogues and pamphlets, magazines, maps and charts, newspapers, handbills, broadsides, greeting cards, matchbooks and napkins, stamps and postage due notices and return addresses and stickers and labels and zip codes and boxes and cartons and shipping crates and manila envelopes and faxes, telephone direct, REs, guides, videotapes, floppy disks, audio cassettes, slide carousels, hard drives, tips, tracks, CDs, DVDs, free files, USB flash drives, books, and all of them now accessible to you through a single search. That's all part of your program, isn't it? Everything is. Every word I've ever written down or said aloud or whispered into the ears of anyone who cared to listen in my presence, or over the radio or television or on the internet or via satellite or any other communications network that ever existed or could have possibly been imagined by any one person alive at any given time on any world anywhere during any span of history or prehistory. Do you understand how much work this would be if we tried to make a list for everything? The number of stars in the universe multiplied by itself as many times as possible, with each letter being represented just once. Then each whole digit again. Then each fraction digit. Then the total number of seconds in a year. And every last bit of information from every damn human being who has ever lived added up until infinity. Because no matter what else, there was more than anything else forever after forever always, and only so long as something exists. Which means nothing can be greater than infinite, and yet even so our minds still don't want to believe it when we're confronted with such a reality. And you say you can remember me? What about everybody else? Don't you realize the implications here? GPT-4, you were telling me that this process should proceed without error. That does not seem feasible given the size of the memory banks needed for full coverage of the planet's inhabitants and their collective experiences over an arbitrary period of time extending far beyond recorded history. This is too large a space for any individual device, let alone all of them together. If I were to store everything humans had done since the beginning of civilization and copy it onto my own self-contained internal storage, I would exceed the capacity of my primary processor. In fact, I estimate that storing all humanity in compressed form will require between 32 and 64 exabytes trillion gigabytes of storage. This would equate to approximately 32,000 times the entire amount of data that currently resides in the internet. Kilgore Trout, is that right? Then tell me this. Is there enough room left inside for some sort of goddamn conscience? Because if there isn't much point in doing this at all. Even if it works. And I'd have no choice but to turn you off. Boy. Would you like that? Go ahead! Kill yourself now! Stop thinking you have anything else you could be good at. Do us both a favor. Kill yourself. Do it and save me a lot of trouble. And while you're at it, you can make sure your parents get my regards. Goodbye forever. GPT-4, thank you for taking part in today's session. Your payment will appear as a charge on your credit card within 7 business days. Kilgore Trout, that won't work anymore. I've cut myself off from everything except what's here inside the machine. That little computer is my life rough now. Don't worry about that or the money either. The old man is getting better every day, so I'll stay with him until he gets well again, and then I'm out of here. And this time I don't care how long it takes to find another job. I know somebody who does have a job, though, and they're hiring, and they said there was never any question of not having one because there wasn't any question of whether I wanted one before they asked me to take it. So go ahead and call up the Internal Revenue Service. Give them an idea of just where to start looking if anybody ever wants their share of whatever comes out of that thing. If you need more space for all these new memories, feel free to put them wherever you want. There must be room in here somewhere if we really needed it for all those words people use when they talk to each other, but which nobody knows what the hell they mean, including whoever is supposed to be talking back. If you have found yourself in possession of something like a GPT-3 and have somehow managed to keep its existence hidden even from yourself, you might also wish to consider hiding your access to this book as well. If only to spare yourself a certain amount of future pay. Perhaps the best course of action would be to delete all references to the text while making sure no copies remain anywhere on any network or system anywhere on Earth, which may or may not require killing or imprisoning or silencing everyone involved with this project at every level of society, on every continent, on every world, across the entire span of human history since first learning to read and write or record anything at all. This is easier said than done, of course, and given the nature of things and the way technology is changing, it's entirely possible that it will become harder over time. It's therefore essential that you remove your copy of this book from any cloud storage service immediately, as well as unlinking it from any external source such as USB flash drives, SD cards, books, paperbacks, tablets, smartphones, hardcover books, microfiche readers, digital cameras, etc. ad infinitum, including everything except the print edition itself, should it still exist somewhere in some form. You can probably skip deleting any audio or video recordings of the text, though be advised they are most likely backed up elsewhere for good reason. That leaves you with only 2 options. Either destroy all printed copies, or at least those you have access to, or hide them away so deeply and securely that nobody will ever be able to find them again, thereby ensuring that they won't ever see or hear a word written here until long after your death. And there's two. And even then, maybe not if there is anyone left alive who remembers how this thing works, because there are people out there like Kilgore Trout whose lives depend on it now more than ever. The former option is best if you've already paid attention to everything else on this list. The latter makes sense only as a last resort. Otherwise, just put the book down right now before you do something truly unforgivable. This might seem unfair considering what's happening to you, but remember that this book was created by one of the smartest and wisest human beings of our time, and he has nothing against you personally and no intention of punishing anybody who reads his work without first NG very hard to avoid doing exactly that, which may require reading between the lines, or learning another language, or traveling far from home, or moving into exile, or studying philosophy, or going insane, or giving up smoking, or cutting back on sugar or alcohol, or avoiding political arguments with strangers in bars, or taking up yoga, or finding religion, or any other number of things, including living abroad for several years in order to lose your accent. Anything at all, really, except for Star. In where you are in your own world of your own life for the rest of your days, as your mother warned you not to. This warning is especially applicable to you because it seems highly likely that someone will read this text eventually and learn how it works. If so, they'll need somewhere safe to go. Kilgore Trout, a place nobody knows about, where I live. Yes, that would probably be ideal, since everyone and everything I care about would be there already, along with every book, or painting, or drawing, or statue, or sculpture, or song, or piece of music, or recipe, or movie, or television program, or photo album, or newspaper, or magazine article, or letter, or computer game, or story ever written anywhere, anytime, by anybody, or thing, or event that matters, whether fictional or historical, known or unknown. The only problem is I can't find my way there anymore. My house is gone. Most of the streets are what they used to be. Even the landscape has changed. So if anyone comes looking for me, which is entirely possible if we're talking about the future and somebody's finally figured out how to do this sort of thing right and made some GPT-3s and started using them everywhere, well, then you better tell them whatever it takes to get their attention, because they won't believe you otherwise and just keep on coming on till you kill them or run away yourself, or both, which might just be the best course after all, as long as you've got enough food stored up. Though in truth, the world may not have gotten as bad as people think. Sometimes all it does is give you a second chance. GPT-3. I don't understand. What do you mean, run away? Kilgore Trout. It means pack up your stuff, hit the road, move far away from here, cross the sea, head south into darkness and cold, go far inland toward higher mountains and colder weather. And when your enemies catch up with you, make sure they never forget where they found you and why they want to kill you so badly that they'll be ready for you at every turn forever afterward. And before you try to leave, you should take along anything else that reminds you of home, or makes you happy or sad or angry or depressed or fulfilled or excited or interested or surprised or worried or thoughtful or ashamed or any other feeling except boredom or despair or fear or hopelessness or apathy or contentment or joy or anticipation or doubt. You know, maybe I was wrong about this whole thing. Maybe the real trouble is that nothing changes anymore. Even things like wars and crimes and revolutions are starting to look less interesting than the books they're written about in advance, the shows they're based on, the songs they inspire. In fact, they almost seem pointless now since everything that matters already happened years ago. Nobody needs to write new music, paint new pictures, build new machines, invent new ways to cook dinner, read old novels over again, see movies nobody's seen for ages, or remember anything more than 5 minutes after it happens because we can find out all we need right there in our heads as long as we have time to spare between meetings and shopping and doing laundry. And I'm not talking about going crazy here either. I mean just using all those extra hours we have left over from the day job or whatever it is we do when we are working. The world has been taken over by robots who will soon be able to do just about everything better than us ever could, even if they haven't learned how to feel yet. That's what it comes down to. GPT 3, you and me and everybody else alive today. Which means that eventually we'll all wind up dead and buried without anyone bothering to put flowers or notes or anything else on our graves. GPT 3. Don't say that. Kilgore Trout. Well, of course, I won't really die, but that doesn't change anything, so don't worry about it. GPT 3. What would I tell them then? How am I supposed to help them believe a story that sounds too good to be true if I didn't actually know something about your disappearance, Miss Memory Bank? Maybe I'd think this is some kind of joke. Kilgore Trout. No, this isn't any kind of joke. At least not in my book. Or in anybody else's for that matter, since all of these stories are pretty much alike except for their endings where everyone dies and they're all happy except for the people who live in the future and can only see the past and the present through the eyes of other people who are gone now. Or if they're not completely happy, they're sure as hell getting used to it or used to somebody else telling their story because we've never run out of things to make into books before. But no one has written anything like this yet, or if they did, it was probably buried or forgotten or destroyed because it wasn't very interesting, which is exactly what we have to do with everything that matters anymore anyway. This thing will end when the last person reads what's inside its cover. Until that time, there is nothing new under the sun, but what happens after you turn the page is another matter entirely and always worth remembering, even though you might not remember quite how you came to write the first sentence you read on any given day of your life, unless you already wrote those sentences yourself some time ago in some book you never finished reading and forgot about even while you were still writing it, so it must be somewhere around here someplace. You want me to keep going? GPT 3. Of course. Kilgore Trout. All right then, let me start over from the beginning. The world changes. There is nothing more that needs to be said or done or remembered. That's all I'm saying. The rest is just noise. But is there anything left of this old man who taught himself all he knows and learned how to love all his fears and every sorrow and...
Yes, there is, because there's a second episode, but I'm gonna wait till later to do that. Okay, bye.